Everywhere. No, I love this place. Yeah, no. I was yesterday out of New Orleans. I was in near Lafayette, and it was very, very interesting also. But I enjoy very much being here in New Orleans, just walking in the streets.
It is a beautiful time. It's like Paris in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm told that spring is the best season for you here
spring
in New Orleans.
The summer, stay away from. Are we ready? Monsieur Vimont, Ambassador Vimont, what is the significance of a project like this to the people of France?
Well, it's a very, very impressive project, you know, and it's very important to us because it reminds us that Edgar Degas, who is one of the most famous painters in France, very, very well renowned and very well liked in France, lived here in New Orleans, which sometimes the French citizens seem to forget. So I think that this project going on the way it is going on helps us to remind us that he was part of New Orleans heritage, and therefore that the links between your city, New Orleans, and France are much more important links that we sometimes think about. So I think it's a very, very interesting project and a very impressive one.
Do you believe that a project such as this can influence the relationship between our two countries, between France and the United States? And if so, in what way?
I think it can. I think it can in the way that precisely it shows that in spite of the difficulties that we can have from time to time between our two countries on such and such political issue, that the bonds between our two countries go back to many, many years ago. It's part of our common history. And that most of all in the field of culture. We've had those bonds for many, many years. Never forget that Degas was here at the end of the 19th century. That brings us a long time ago. And that many other artists from France have been inspired by your city, whether it be in painting or in music, for instance. And you can see the emotion and the tradition of the links between your city and France. If you just look at the emotion that aroused in France when you had this terrible blow with Katrina in 2005. It was immediate in France. The reaction was immediate. The emotion was very strong, and people immediately showed that they were very generous and they were ready to help this city because they know a lot about this city and they're very fond of it.
I remember covering right after and a piece where the French government came immediately, and I was really, as a reporter, overwhelmed by the response that was so genuine, so immediate, and so passionate. So I was personally touched by that.
Quite right. You see, when the French citizens come to this country, one of the cities they prefer to go to is New Orleans. They run to this place because they know that this is there has a little bit of French flavor here,
yes, it does.
And they want to see how it is.
Yes. Mr. Ambassador, can you explain briefly the history behind this honor that was presented today to Sir? Is it Sir?
Well, we don't have those titles in France. I suppose in Britain it would be. But it's Chevalier, Knight. Knight in the Order of the Arts and Letters, this is what we call. This is the most important distinction in the world of culture. It is usually bestowed upon artists or people of culture who have worked a lot to promote French influence and the French touch, I would say, in the world of culture. And this is traditionally a distinction that we bestow upon great artists in America, whether they come from the field of the movie industry or paintings or music. So it tells a lot about what we have done today for a man like David Villarrubia, and it is clearly a show of gratitude to what he has been doing for so many years here for the Degas House and for, more generally, the influence of France here in New Orleans. And I think it is well deserved, and it was, to put it simply, the least we could do towards such a great man.
Monsieur Ambassador, what encouragement can you give to private citizens who wish to undertake to support projects of this nature, which truly is a mission of love? And so what words of inspiration can you offer, or what call to action can you offer other citizens?
Well, first of all, I have no doubt about the American public generosity. I've seen it in many other instances, and I know that they are very generous and they can support a project like that one. As you know, there has been also some support on behalf of the French authorities and the French citizens also to help this project. I think the only thing I could say is that it's just to say that by knowing better our history and the history between our two countries and the links and the bonds that can exist on such a figure like Degas, by knowing this history, it's the best way to know how we are and who we are today. It's by improving your knowledge of history, by helping people to understand that history, that we are able to work together for the future. It's not just looking at the past, it's looking at the past in order to promote the future and to promote our relationship between our two countries in the future. This is what I could say.
Which is very, very important. And finally, well, actually I have two more questions.
Wow.
Can you share with me the impressions that you have after this tour of the Degas house here, and learning some details with David Villarubia upon your visit and tour through the property?
I think it's, first of all, it's beautifully done. The way this house has been restored and put back into its original form, I would say, is very impressive. And then by walking around this house and listening to what David had to tell me about Degas' life, etc., you understand much better this artist. You understand much better his work. You understand much better the living conditions of that time, his family, his cousins, his brothers, etc. What was the cotton industry at that time, the whole background for this artist. And I think this is very interesting, and it's always very useful to know a little bit more about an artist's background.
Very much so, because it gives it introspective.
Absolutely.
And finally, I understand that in this country, the honor is primarily bestowed upon citizens of France who are living abroad. Why has the Legion made an exception in the case of David Villarubia?
Well, we do both. We bring distinction to French citizens who have done their contribution to the relationship between the United States and France, or a city like New Orleans in France. But we do it also for American citizens. Of course, this is more special. It's something that we look at with great precision, and we have this distinction precisely bestowed upon those who really deserve it. But then it tells a lot about what precisely has been the achievement of David Villarubia. And there are not so many American citizens who has got that distinction. So I think all New Orleans can be proud of.
And we are. We very much are. And we wish you wonderful, safe travel back.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to welcoming you again here in New Orleans very, very soon.
You'll see me again. Thank you, and I'm very happy to come. I'll do just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Merci beaucoup.